and welcome to a unique occasion, bringing together two of the world's most flamboyant grandmasters head-to-head in a challenge match. Winner of such elite events as Paris, Helsinki, Lugano and the League Grand Prix twice, Grandmaster James Plaskett. And winner of Marseille 1989 and past 4 times winner of the National Westminster International, Grandmaster David Norwood. The format of this match is one tailor-made to test the vision and combative powers of Norwood and Plaskett. In the opening game, each player has just 10 minutes to make all his moves. Game 2 is a 30-minute blindfold game in which the Grandmasters can see neither board nor pieces. The finale to the match is a series of 5-minute Blitz games. Throughout the challenge, the players play black and white in alternate games. The winner of any game scores a point and a draw half a point. The first man to score 4 points wins the match. On commentary, I'm joined by 2 international masters, Gavin Crawley and Andrew Martin. Now Andrew, you're an author, active player, commentator and commentator at the British Championships this year. This is going to be quite different, I think.
It will certainly be different to the British Championships. I commentated at the World Championship match between Karpov and Kasparov in London, 1986. And the match between 2 players here is going to be a lot like that. Now Norwood and Plaskett are 2 of the country's more aggressive players. They're young, perhaps a little over-exuberant at times, but the time limits here, quick play plus blindfold, are going to make for an interesting match, and I'm looking forward to it.
Now Gavin, blindfolds,
yes.
Blitz chess, this is going to tax the resources of our 2 players quite a bit, I think.
Yes, I think it is. Jim Plaskett is noted as being a very good Blitz player. He likes to play Blitz against other grandmasters, and he's noted as being a very interesting player with a very sharp tactical style. David Norwood is slightly less experienced. He's also got the right style for being a good Blitz player, very tactically aware, but perhaps slightly less experienced at playing Blitz against grandmasters. The blindfold game is quite a different proposition. I think it will be quite novel to both players, and it will be very, very interesting to see how they manage to cope with the problems of not being able to see the board.
Thank you, gentlemen. And so, on to the first game. Each player has 10 minutes for all his moves. Overstepping is an instant loss. There has been a draw. Jim Plaskett has the white pieces. So let's join the commentary team for the very beginning of this game. And with a nice gentlemanly handshake, we're off on the first game. Thought on the first move. Here it comes. C4.
And we're expecting probably a modern defence, aren't we?
Something like that from Dave Norwood. He's not the type of player who plays a lot of things. He tends to stick to a well thought out opening repertoire. In this case with black, he tends to concentrate on the fianchetto of the king bishop.
Jim's playing an interesting plan here. He's not just developing his king side, he's going for very early activity. So it's very ambitious. It's playing for tactics immediately in the game rather than just playing safe moves.
Things like this have been played, this position has been seen before, I'm sure, but knight a4 is unusual. You wouldn't normally expect a grandmaster to put his knight on the edge this early on, despite the fact that the c-pawn was threatened. As Gavin quite rightly remarked, White's main problem in this game may stem from the fact that he's not developing his king side. He could get into trouble there later on if he doesn't get castled quickly.
Yes, we're seeing a lot of white pawn moves here.
Yes, I think White has to get a clear advantage from this advance on the queen side. Otherwise his lack of development on the king side is going to tell. He's really got to show that his queen side space is worth something.
Slight indecision there from Plaskett. That pawn didn't go with its usual authority to that square.
That a6 looks slightly dubious. It tends to provoke White into playing c4, c5. Black has weakened his b6 square, but what Black really wants to do, I think, is to open things up at this point. Something in the centre with d5 or...
Yes,
just to open the game up.
Yes, he wants to get the tactics going before White gets his king safe.
Black is castled and
yes,
White isn't.
Indeed, White is 2 moves away from being able to castle.
But this is typical Jim Plaskett in a way, because he loves to play creatively. I mean, it's not a normal position in that sense. Slightly unusual play by White.
And that's especially true of Plaskett.
I would say so, yeah.
Yes. Oh, this is an interesting move. He's trying to exploit the b6 square. I think things could get critical quite quickly now.
That's right. But perhaps knight d5, covering b6. I think Black would be happy if White took that knight off. Bishop takes d5.
Yeah.
White's got to be very careful here. He's establishing a number of significant advantages in the position, but well, notably b6. But tactically, he's going to be worse off here because he has a castle.
Yeah. It's an interesting approach to playing with the white pieces. It's trying to use the advantage of the first move to establish a big advantage early on, rather than just, to make sure that you have a safe position to start the middle game from.
Mind you, I must say, I don't really like White's position. I don't know what you feel about that, Gavin. I just feel that White's playing slightly artificially.
I'm not sure really. It's, if it works, it could go very well.
Actually, there's a cute tactic here. Black can take on b4 with a knight.
Which one?
Either, I think. And if White takes with the bishop, then the other knight takes on b4 and queen comes to a5.
And that's a pin.
That's a nasty pin. But of course White would have taken with the rook and then with the bishop. So that's probably why David Norwood didn't do that.
I like a5 actually. He's going to get a nice square for his knight on b4.
Vasquez thinking about it.
Well, as well he might. He still hasn't solved the problem of his undeveloped kingside.
No, while we speak, still the same knight in the way of his king and rook.
I think if White ever does play knight b6, Black would be quite happy to sacrifice the exchange or something, to use the time to maybe try and achieve something in the centre.
This is a very long think by Plaskett.
So David must be happy in the first game of the match to have established this type of position.
Well, Plaskett's having a very long think. He's now receded on the time stakes. He's used 5 minutes to Norwood's 2.5.
Well, that looks very dubious.
What's happening now?
Well, Jim has given up his fianchetto bishop on g2. He's given up both bishops in the last couple of moves for Black's knights, in order to get his knight in on b6, but I don't know, it all looks very dubious for White. I don't really understand his play.
Well, I think Black's pawn structure now looks very weak. I mean, he's got 4 isolated pawns.
Well, do you think that Black has a winning position? Could one consider this to be a winning position?
No, I think White's got a very sound pawn structure on the king side. I think, if White can exchange one of his knights for one of Black's bishops, then some sort of bishop v knight position could be very good for White in an ending, if the knight could get to a good blockade square.
What about playing the knight into b6? Because of course that knight on a4 is useless. One might as well put
Here
it
it comes.
Yes, and perhaps
he played it.
just take the bishop on c8 and take on d6, and just play a position with bishop against knight. All right, White's in some danger, but at least he's got rid of his bad knight.
I have a feeling that Plaskett won't do that. He's been trying to get that knight to b6, and I don't think it's there to sacrifice itself for an unmoved piece.
I think Black's definitely better in this position, because it's going to take White a long time to develop his king side. Particularly this rook on h1. It's hard to see how that's going to come into the game for a long time.
So you think White's going to win game?
At the moment, I'd have to prefer Black, I think.
Oh, Black, I do beg your pardon.
It's really quite extraordinary, that knight on g1, unmoved. Very unusual game.
Well, I think since the opening, White hasn't really had time to get it into play. There's been tactics happening on the queen side, and there just hasn't been a convenient moment to get it into play.
Well, Norwood's thinking, what's he thinking about? I see now. He's sacrificing the exchange, in fact. I feel sure that White should have taken an A2 there, because White's got problems anyway. I mean, Jim, again, there's a bit of over-exuberance from Jim. He's seen a tactic. If Black had taken the queen, knight E7 check the game.
Aha.
But the problem with this...
Yes.
Yes, now what about bishop C3 check here? And then if king to F1 by White, queen to H3 check, king to G1, and White has gummed up the rook on H1. Because of course if it were White to move, he would castle now, I think.
Yeah.
You're probably going to see bishop C3 check by Norwood, keeping the White king in the middle.
Yeah. I think the black B pawn is very dangerous in this sort of ending now, because as soon as it gets to B2, it's... I mean, for instance, if the queens were exchanged, Black would have an automatic plan of just putting the pawn on B2 and then both rooks on the A file and possibly rook A1. And it would be almost impossible for White to...
Plaskett
yeah, that's why I think White should have taken the rook on A2, because if you've got a bad position, you may as well have material for it. Here, White has this grotty position, which is incarcerated rook on H1, and he hasn't got even any material compensation.
Yeah.
So the rook on D8 is attacked. Jim's getting short of time. Now,
I think this must be one position for Black.
Can Black come in here now on E2, taking a pawn at the same time?
well, there is a cute tactic. Queen takes F7 check, and then if King takes Knight G5 check. But the Black B pawn is very strong, isn't it?
Effect of that's an exchange of queens, a funny exchange of queens.
That's right, yeah. But again, immediately after that, after White takes the queen, then Black just plays B3 and B2.
White recapture on H3 after that. He's ignoring this possibility.
Well, I think Jim would have seen that.
And
yes, he's decided that he must get some counterplay.
It's still on,
He's
by the way.
created his own pass pawn.
It's still on.
So maybe the endings now, White can push his own pass pawn and protect some of that.
Rook F1. No, he should have done it now. He should have done it now. Good. Queen takes F7. Oh, his mate. Oh dear.
A whole queen?
Fantastic, his mate.
Nice finish.
What an extraordinary finish.
Yes, very nice game from David. I think
yeah.
all the way through.
A mate in our first game. So, Norwood wins the opening game with a stunning queen sacrifice to force checkmate. Indeed, such combinations have become a hallmark of his play. Before the match, Andrew Martin asked him about the brilliant finish to his game against the German master Meyer at Groningen in 1988.
Really stunned him. Take a look at this.
You played that move?
I played this move. Of course, the queen is definitely on pre. A lot of people thought I'd gone momentarily insane, but no, the queen is definitely on pre. The point is, if the bishop takes, I don't mind. I don't mind that at all, because I'll take back, and then my idea is just to swing my rook over to here, to give a sort of checkmate. But, funnily enough, he just ignores it. The idea being that if I swing this rook over to h2, which is my plan, obviously what I want to do to give the checkmate, he's going to simply take on b2 check and give away his queen.
Deflection.
Deflection. But this is the whole point. A very beautiful, calm move. A move that just doesn't look playable. Just knight to d1. Marvellous. Holding everything.
That's the move I like very much about it.
It's a beautiful move, isn't it? Not the queen f6. Everyone thought queen f6 was remarkable.
Well, queen f6 is very violent, and then you follow it up with something very placid.
Yeah, it's always very difficult to see a placid move after such a violent one. This is where so many people go wrong in combinations. They don't see the... So now, he actually gives up at this point, which is quite amazing. But as you can see, what is happening is quite simple. We take this off. Now he tries a move like c3, and my rook comes over to h2. If pawn takes pawn check, my king hides on the very safe square b1. If queen takes pawn, then just knight takes, and if pawn takes again, I'm hiding. And there's no way Black can defend against this.
Chess lovers have long been fascinated by the feat of playing entire games blindfold, but rarely in the history of chess have two strong grandmasters challenged each other in a blindfold game. The players have no access to the board or pieces, and are not allowed to keep a record of the moves. A player completes a move by calling it out in algebraic notation and then pressing his clock. Furthermore, Norwood and Plaskett have only 30 minutes each to make all their moves. For the benefit of viewers, as the players call out their moves, the position is featured on a demonstration board in the commentary room. We join the game with David Norwood to play white.
Right, well I know what I want to do. I'm going to play bishop f2 with the idea of going for e4. I've wanted to do this for so long and I think it's going to come true. So bishop f2.
Obviously that prepares e4. Well, I can grab on b1 now, can't I? If I play bishop takes knight on b1, he takes back with the rook, and I play queen takes a2, and then scamper back with my queen. If he takes with a queen on b1, I can play knight takes d5. Next, I'll play this. Bishop takes b1. Looks better than the alternative.
Well, to me, that's a good bishop. I've not developed my knight. Thanks a lot, Jim. I'll take that back with my queen. Queen takes b1, and I've got control of the white squares. This is going to be my lucky day.
Ah, what an idiot I am. I thought I could play knight takes d5. His rook covers it. Stupid. Well, now he's got the two bishops. I've weakened my kingside pawn structure. Playing normally by castling, just playing natural sort of moves, looks a bit out of place because I've so weakened myself. I think I'm going to have to play in rather a bizarre manner here. I'll start with queen to b7. This time I really am threatening his d5 pawn.
Okay, well, the move I wanted to play for quite a while, e4.
Now, as I say, I'm not going to castle. I'm going to go do something strange. I've been talking about advancing the kingside pawns for a long time. If I go g4, he just plays f4, I'm almost strategically lost then. He's just going to steamroller me in the centre with his pawns. I'm not entirely happy with this position. If I just let him consolidate, he's going to be better with those two bishops in the central pawn structure. I've got to do something fast. Maybe even if it isn't 100% correct, I've got to try and confuse him before his strategical advantage tells. I'm going to try to play actively on the queen's side. b4.
I think that was the best move. I wanted to play b4 myself and fix that pawn on b5, and then my two bishops would really have started to give him worries. But that's probably a good move. Anyway, I'm going to take it off. C takes b4.
He took it. Well, I have the option of recapturing with the pawn or with the queen. If I take with the pawn, and at some later date, a knight might hop into d4, onto c6, or even f5. That's happened to me before, but I don't want that to happen here. So I'll recapture with the queen. Queen takes b4. Can't say I'm very happy though.
Well, quickly. I don't want to mess around. I've got a time advantage. I'm going to play knight d3.
Well, that's something of a relief. The plan that really worried me was him playing his knight to c2 into e3, into f5. It's a really gaping hole in my position. But it's a long way from d3, where it is now, to that square at f5. Well, no choice. I must move my queen. I'll put it back where it came from. Queen b7.
Maybe this isn't as good as I thought. Maybe I've just gone a bit too quickly. He's got, oh dear, he's got ideas like g4 and, I better just develop. The clock's ticking away. Queen c2.
Right. He's got the two bishops. I must try and damage his pawn structure. There's one move that does it. g4.
Certainly no surprise, but it's pretty nasty all the same. Well, I think the only way I can hold is by playing my bishop to g2. I think I've gone a bit wrong here.
Well, only one consistent move. If I let him play f3 to f4, he's just going to steamroller me, so I take on f3. g4 takes f3.
Bishop takes f3.
Well, now it's not so clear. Now I've made a lot of progress, and I've got that great big square at e5. If I can get a knight established there, things are going to go really well. How do I go about it? Maybe I play my pawn up to h5. Use that as a pivot point, trying to play my knight later to g4 into e5. Alternatively, I can play my knight away to h7. I'm not quite sure what the best plan is. I'm going to wait for a minute with some sort of constructive looking move. I'll play on my players that I'm going to threaten to kick his knight. Not sure I really am going to do it. I'll play rook to c8. Make him think.
I don't want to allow c4. If c4 and I have to jump back, that knight's coming into e5. Damn stupid thing I did, letting him take off my f-pawn. No, if he puts the knight on e5, I'm never going to get it out of there. Oh dear. Well, I've got to hold the knight on d3, so I'm going to play a natural move, b3.
Yeah, that was unexpected. Same sort of thoughts as last move. How do I try to use that e5 square? Well, I'm going to play knight from f6 to h7. Knight h7. At the same time, open an attack on his rook on a1.
Well, the rook's attacked. It's got to move. Why not to the c file? I'll play rook a to c1.
Well, I've played very strangely in this game, but maybe it's going to pay off. I've got this wonderful e5 square. I've been talking and talking about it. Let's put something on it. Knight to e5.
Oh dear. I hate it when my clock's ticking away and he's coming in on these big squares. Quickly drop the bishop back. Bishop g2.
The first plan that suggests itself to me is to somehow exchange his knight on d3 and then put the other knight, my other knight, on e5. How am I going to do that? Still not 100% clear how I'm going to implement. Now, the idea is quite clear. What's the move order? Well, I'll just play something which looks constructive while I'm not quite certain what's going on. I'll play my pawn up to h5, h6 to h5. You never know, it might even be useful in some sort of kingside attack later on.
Maybe I am blind, and maybe he is too, because I'm sure the knight should have gone to g4 there. I suddenly realised as soon as I dropped my bishop back, the knight can come to g4 and probably take off that knight on that bishop on f2, and if my dark squared bishop goes, it could be absolutely fatal. Oh dear. Well, maybe I'm still doing okay. What can I play now? Get rid of that knight on e5. I'm sick of it anyway. Knight takes e5.
Well, I have two possible recaptures, but only one makes sense. Bishop takes e5.
Okay, queen d2. Why not?
It must have gone a fair way. It must be about move 30. I still haven't castled. I'm never going to castle either, I should think, in this position. How do I... I'm just really seriously thinking in terms of attacking him on the king side at the moment. I'll keep my options open. I could play my pawn to h4, but he might even take it. It's not entirely clear that my attack is going to work. I'll bring my knight back towards the central square. Knight to f6. This position looks pretty nice to me now.
Right, well, there's no way on this earth I'm letting a knight get in on g4. No way. So bishop f3.
All the worries I had about 10 or 12 moves ago after I gave up my bishop on b1 have gone. I'm looking pretty happy here. Time's ticking by though. What am I going to do? Again, I'm not certain to advance the h-pawn is correct. I could wait. I could even scurry away with my king maybe. I'm not quite sure. I'll play the knight move again. I'll put the knight into g4. Knight g4.
I don't believe it. He's letting me take off that wonderful piece with my dreadful bishop. My bishop looks like a bad excuse for a drafts piece. It's not done anything all game, and now he's going to let me take off that lovely knight. I was incredibly worried about a move like queen d7, where he has a complete bind, and I couldn't see any constructive moves. So I'm going to take that knight now, and maybe I can survive this.
Yeah, maybe I was wrong. Maybe I should have played queen d7 last move. Lots of threats, and it's hard for him to find a constructive wordy move. Well, that's all in the past. I must recapture. h5 takes g4.
Well, I'll throw the queen into his position. That'll confuse him. His time's ticking away. Queen g5.
Well, I didn't think he'd play that. Attacking my g4 pawn, that's easily enough defended. Still, I'm pretty certain I made a mistake when I played that knight g4 move a couple of moves ago. Anyway, my choice seems pretty limited here. I'll play my queen to protect the g-pawn. Queen d7.
Right, about 6 minutes each left. Let's move a little. Rook c2.
I'm not sure what that move does, but I'm not quite sure what he should have done anyway. How do I make further progress on the king side? I've still got my wonderful bishop on e5, but if only I could somehow magically drop my king all the way to a8 out of the way, I could connect my rooks. That even might be an idea here, to play king from e8 to d8. I'm not quite sure. I'll just put my rook on an open file. I'll play the rook to b8. Maybe it'll come to b4 later on.
Okay, let's activate the bishop somehow. Put it on e3. Bishop e3.
Surely I must still be better here. I've got a bishop on e5. It's a lovely structure, but I don't quite see how I get it together. Time's ticking away. Yeah, we've both made mistakes in this game. Well, I'll play the most active move with a threat. My rook to b4. Attacks his e4 pawn. Can't be a bad move.
Now surely I can just play rook f1 here. He can't take my e-pawn because I've got queen g6 check. But have I got queen g6 check? Christ, I'm sure that f-pawn moved, has it? Let's think. God, quick, my time. No, I'm sure it's not moved. Well, I better make sure. Oh, rook c4, anything, rook c4.
I must still be better here, but I don't want to let him take on b4 and open up the c file. I could drop back, but it's a bit of a loss of face. It won't be the first time this game one of us has dropped a piece back having just advanced it. I'm not sure. I'll take on c4 and try to get my queen in the game. Rook takes c4.
Well, I'm now absolutely certain that that pawn is on f7. I had a momentary blindness there, but I'm now convinced it is on f7, so thank God for my last move. B takes c4. Let's see if I can hold now.
I'm losing the thread of this position. Again, I'd be a happier man if my king were right away in the far corner on a8, but I could try and scurry away with king d8 to king to c8. It all looks a bit iffy. Oh, I'll play an active move. I'll play the most active move in the position. Queen to a4, attacking his rook on d1.
Right, maybe the tide's turning. I don't think he's seen that I'm taking his g4 pawn, defending my rook on d1 and threatening mate on c8. Marvellous. Queen takes g4.
You took my g pawn. Well, I can take his c pawn. Oh, wait a minute. Something's going to happen on c8. He's threatening mate. Oh, damn. Alright, I've blundered a pawn, but maybe it's still not so bad. My piece is on pretty good squares here. I must stop this mate threat. I'll play the move I've been talking about for a long time. King to d8. At least I'll never castle in this game, I know that now.
Well, he hesitated for so long. I thought I was going to get another nice finish. I thought I was going to mate him on c8 there. But it seems to me that that he's waking up. Now, what can I do? I'm a pawn up, but I've got a lot of difficult pieces. My pawns on c4, a2 are all very weak. Well, let's keep up an attack for a while. I'll play rook to b1, try and do something on b8. Rook b1.
Well, I'm not letting that rook in my position. The most natural move must be the strongest. King to c7, coordinating and keeping that rook out.
Right, well there's only really one move which holds everything, and it's got to be played. I'm going to drop the queen back to hold the a2 and c4 pawns. I'll play queen e2.
Well, I'm a pawn down. I can hardly play actively. I can hardly offer the exchange of rooks with rook b8. That'd just be to a lost endgame. But my pieces are very imposingly placed. It's hard for him to make progress here, so I'll just shuffle around and try and hold the position. Rook g8. At least that stops him advancing any kingside pawns.
Well, that doesn't worry me. Well, I'm going to just push the king up, get it off the back rank. I'll play king g2 and let's see what he's going to do.
Well, just try and hold the position. Rook to h8. I'm still very actively placed.
I thought so. He doesn't have a plan. He doesn't have a clue now. Right, I'll take control. I'll play a move like rook b3 and hopefully double on the b file and then try and do something.
Well, that doesn't worry me too much. I can't see him doubling on the b file as my bishop's on e5. The most natural move here is to switch the queen back to d7. So I might drop in on h3. Let's keep worrying him. He's still got to realise his pawn advantage. Maybe I can draw this. I'm pretty optimistic about my drawing chances here. Queen d7.
Christ, I forgot about that. That's ridiculous. Now the queen's coming in on h3. What am I going to do? The rook is on that stupid square b3. What was I thinking about? Right, well, I've got to drop the... Oh, my clock. King g1.
No, I'm optimistic about my chances of holding this. I think he should have played some plan with h3 and g4 a couple of moves ago, and that would have made a lot more sense. Now he's losing coordination. Well, I play queen to h3. I have a silly threat of bishop takes g3. He won't let me play that, but at least I'm very actively placed. Good chances of a draw.
Right, I want that rook back in my position. Rook b1, quickly.
I don't believe it. He's let me play the sacrifice. Oh, bishop takes g3.
Oh no, no. What have I done? Oh, it's mate. Oh no. I can't defend h2. What am I going to do? How could I miss that move? Queen g2 last move would probably have held it. Now what can I do? Pawn takes bishop and he's got queen h1 with rook h2 mate. No way to hold h2. This is a nightmare. I resign.
So in the blindfold game, where one would expect Plaskett and Norwood to play simple, orthodox chess, Plaskett's original and inventive play nets him his first victory and levels the match scoreline at 1-1. Thus the match will be decided by the 5-minute games, where both Norwood and Plaskett have reputations as experts. The rules are essentially those of normal chess, and if a player's flag falls, he loses the game. For Game 3, we rejoin live commentary with Andrew Martin and Gavin Crawley. Jim Plaskett is a veteran of Blitz, not a handshake. You know that for a fact.
I do. I've played Jim on a number of occasions at Blitz. Jim loves to play Blitz. He likes the thrill of playing chess very quickly. And I think Jim's a bit of a gambler. He likes to play Blitz for money. So I think, you know, for the pure pleasure of winning money, that's another reason why Jim plays Blitz. Because, of course, he's very good at it. He wins most of the time that he plays.
Yes, he has a nice little flat in Bedford. I wonder whether any of that is...
All due to the move bishop g5.
All due to the move bishop g5. Similar black setup by Norwood here. Can he react to more or less anything with this?
I think we're going to have a very interesting game. I think White's going to push forward in the centre, and it could get very tactical, very complicated. I think both players like to play a very tactical sort of game, and Blitz tends to be very tactical anyway.
Yeah. The problem with Norwood's setup, the modern defence, is that the modern's actually quite a difficult defence to play. It tends to egg White on, it invites him to attack.
The modern is the name given to black's setup.
Yes, the setup with g6. And I guess if you get the initiative at Blitz, if you get onto the attack, it's more difficult for the defender than it is for the attacker. You know, and I don't know.
Yes, this is a very dangerous setup for White.
It certainly is. Maybe take on f3 with the bishop and castle, that would be a practical decision.
Yeah, then we're going to get a sort of game with attacks on opposite sides. White's going to go h4, h5. Black's going to try and attack the white king on the queen side. Yeah. And it's going to be a...
Norwood's thinking this is a critical point, the first critical point of the game, really. Two monkeys playing at random could have achieved this position probably. But now we're going to see what they come up with.
Quite different from the players we have here.
This is very dangerous. It does rather provoke White into advancing in the centre, as Gavin has said. Do you think e5 is possible even now? Well, Jim's played it.
He's played it, yes. I don't know. Things are going to happen.
Flurry of exchanges.
Now, I think bishop takes f3. White would take the knight on f6.
Can then black take back with the e-pawn?
I wouldn't trust. No, after rook e1 check, then I think White's just winning.
b4. That's a typical tactic. Norwood's hoping that White will play pawn takes knight when he responds pawn takes c3, hitting the queen. And then if pawn takes bishop on g7, pawn takes d2, check.
Well, he's trying to create a square for his knight on f6. If White now moves his knight, then we'll play knight d5.
So we're getting this exchanging, and Jim's taken on c3, so presumably we're going to see e takes f6 by Norwood.
I think black's king on the e file is very dangerous.
I think to win at Blitz you've got to be practical. You know, you've got to play not necessarily the best moves, but safe moves. And it doesn't strike me that Norwood's playing very safely here. I mean, he's almost inviting Jim to knock him out. Rook h1 check, or some sort of check on the e file.
Yes, in the first game we saw an uncastled king getting quite badly pasted, and the same thing seems to be happening to black here.
You see, in a normal game with a long time limit, these players can think out their moves, you know, and if the black king remains in the centre, then, you know, black can calculate everything. In a Blitz game, it's just not possible to do that. So, you know, it's slightly impractical. Dave Norwood's playing in a very risky manner here. You know, white may sacrifice 1, 2, maybe 3 pieces to keep the black king tied down in the centre.
Well, but at least black can castle now, I think.
Yes, but look at the pin on the d file. I mean, it's dreadful. Maybe knight d4 now for white really puts the boot in.
Well,
Or maybe bishop takes bishop now. But that allows pawn takes g5.
Yes, that bishop on g7 is defended now.
I see the idea. Perhaps Jim intends to take on c6.
yeah.
Keeping the knight.
I think black's gone out of this, actually. I think his king's safe at the moment. He may be losing a few pawns, but I think he'll get counterplay.
Oh yes, with queen f6 or maybe queen b8, which both threaten mate when the white queen takes on c6.
Yeah, I don't think black's losing any pieces. I think he may end up a couple of pawns down maybe, but he'll have some
The
short
commentary team is getting it spot on.
Well, queen f6 looks best. Yeah, queen b8 would have
yes, I think
the rook.
I think black survived. I think. I mean, white may still be better objectively, but I think black's got his king into safety. And he hasn't lost any
indeed
pieces.
has created a horrific threat.
Well, queen b2 is not mate. I mean, white could consider just taking the knight and then.
That's interesting. So if queen takes, then
Queen
white takes on d7. If black takes with the rook, he's taking with the rook.
Yeah,
a8's on pre.
Oh.
What's Dave Norwood's reply to that move?
Oh, is this a disaster?
This looks enormous for white. He's the exchange up. Well, the exchanging 2 pawns up, and
I think Norwood's shocked. I mean, he's thinking for a long while. Perhaps he just didn't see queen a8.
yeah.
Well, it's perfectly possible. In a blitz game, anything can happen, even between two as stronger players as this.
Well, white must have a winning position now. He's the exchange up. All his pieces are centralised.
Both flags are creeping to horizontal now.
This is not.
Yeah, but on top of being the exchange and 2 pawns ahead, Jim's also about a minute ahead on the clock, I think.
Indeed.
Yeah, I think White's going to win this game. Difficult to see any counterplay for black at all. Yeah, check in the corner now, perhaps c3. So black's moving very fast. Yeah. But
Pawn dropping.
so a2 is now hanging. Queen
King to defend.
e1.
Yes, white must be safe in this position, I think. Well, he's hoping for cheaper.
Oh, I don't like that. Oh, that's a bit risky. Yes. I think rook d8 may have been better. Take off the rook. It's getting random. Norwood is... Oh my god, he's coming back from the dead here.
Yeah,
What's happening
he's
here?
got
How
some
did this happen?
threats.
Now what to play? It's very difficult to see. Perhaps rook b7, is that possible?
Well, the threat is rook
Typical
d1.
Plaskett move is queen b5.
What exactly is being threatened here?
Black is threatening mate by queen b2 or rook b1.
Just simply mate in one. Oh! Wow. Congratulations to Mr. Martin.
Yeah, but if he takes rook d8 mate...
Well, no, queen g8 defends, and then we've got an ending where white will be winning.
Anyway, the keeper is not concerned with variations, it's just giving as many checks in the short time as possible at the moment.
Both players are in quite serious time trouble.
Well, Jim's a rook up, basically, so I think he's got a winning position.
Is he a rook up? Oh, he's going to be a piece up here. Oh, check, he's got out, that's amazing.
No, queen g5.
Oh, he should have played queen g5. Well, all credit to David Norwood, he's fighting like a Trojan here.
I think the significant thing is that Jim's a long way ahead on the clock.
Yep.
He's got an extra minute on the clock.
And the knight's always very good in 5 minutes, isn't he?
That's right, yeah.
This is because they're harder to keep track of. Indeed, this knight is doing extraordinary things.
Oh dear, if he does that, where's he going? Not bishop b4, please, he's lost his bishop. No. No, he should have played rook f2 check, and then bishop check and bishop take. That may have been a draw. This is definitely not a draw.
Yes, I'm sure Jim's got enough time to win his position comfortably.
Yes, a good tactic in 5 minutes chess is not the clock on the floor at this point.
It was close. And that's a resignation.
And hope that the opponent flag falls.
Now, if black takes that knight, it's simply a lost king and pawn ending.
That's right, yes.
Both players are revelling in creating wonderful tactical possibilities. But in a game swinging first Plaskett's way, then Norwood's, It's Plaskett who takes the lead 2-1. On with game 4. Off we go again. David Norwood, white. All games begin with a handshake.
Oh, that's unusual.
Yes, I think that's the right way to play against Jim. That's a sort of very solid move by white. Just reinforcing the centre. White's not going for too much in the opening.
Well, I think you'd expect white to play queen b3 now.
I think the main thing is that it's very difficult for a creative player like Plaskett to do anything against an opening like this. White's just playing solidly, just getting his pieces out really.
So do we have an example here of psychological preparation, at least in the opening?
Yeah, I think so. I think Dave has taken the view that it's best to play solidly against Jim. I mean, we saw what happened in the last Blitz game.
Yeah, we did indeed.
When he egged him on in the modern defence.
And ended up with egg on his face.
Well, White's
Not much to say about White's play.
Well, he's looking black on the
boring.
Black is advancing again.
I think White's aiming for some sort of French defence position where he's already got his bad bishop outside the pawns.
Perhaps David could put a yes, that's what I was thinking about. Just
No,
put the
his
knife
bad
in.
bishop would normally be the one on c1,
That's
impeded
right,
by
yes.
all the pawns being on black squares, and it's out. It's out in the game.
That's right, yes.
You can see that Black hasn't had too many problems with development of the minor pieces. You know, Jim's just bringing his pieces out, preparing to castle. But if Black wants to try for advantage, then it's very difficult. Because, of course, White's done nothing wrong either. White's just been content to set up a solid position and maybe try and run Black out of time. David's hoping that Jim will use up all his time trying to find something when there's nothing actually there.
So no cardinal sin to do nothing with the white pieces.
Well, not in Blitz, perhaps over the board. One could criticise a player for doing that, but in Blitz it's a good tactic.
Certainly, yeah.
It's not Jim's type of game, this. It's a bit dull.
Certainly the quietest opening we've seen so far.
Well, I think White's got some pressure now.
It must be difficult for Dave Norwood to play like this because he's not by nature a quiet player. He's playing very much against himself in this opening. Perhaps he just feels that if he gets into a tactical melee with Jim Plaskett, he's going to come off second best, especially in Blitz.
I notice both players are keeping very close to each other on the clock this game.
Well, but White can win a pawn now. I think. Yes, he's.
Well, he could have won. Yes, I see.
He's taking a very important central pawn. I think Black's bishops are. I can't see what they can do. The centre is blocked by White's pawn chain, and I think White's just got a very good extra pawn.
So this opening, in fact, has been a considerable success from Dave Norwood's point of view. He's just won a pawn for nothing, really.
I'm surprised that Black let White take the D pawn rather than the B pawn.
Well, I don't think he saw it. Simple as that. I don't think Jim Plaskett would have gone in for this had he seen the fact that White could play bishop takes knight and queen takes d5. Just a hurried move and he lost the pawn for nothing. Happens all the time in Blitz. Of course, it's not the end of the game. Over the board, it would be completely the end. You know, I'm sure Norwood would just grind him down from this position.
Take this pause here by Plaskett. How far ahead do you think he would be analysing?
I think he'd be looking for ideas rather than at specific variations.
He's in trouble?
You see, that d5 is a sort of impractical move by Norwood because he wins a second pawn. He's going to win the pawn on e4, but perhaps material's not that important in a position like this. It would have been more important to try and consolidate things, get castled, and then win with the extra pawn.
Oh, this must surely be very good for White.
Oh yeah, it's good for White, but perhaps Black's got a couple of open lines somewhere. Immobilises f-pawn. And note that Jim's tied down White's bishop on f1.
Well, White can eliminate Black's dark squared bishop, which was a danger piece because it didn't have any opposition from a white dark squared bishop. So now we've just got a very simplified position, same colored bishops, and White's 2 pawns up. I can't see White's going to have any trouble winning this game at all.
Actually, it's difficult making chess commentary on Blitz games because we're not really talking chess, we're talking Blitz. It's a different language completely.
Yes. Yes, I don't think White should have put his king on the queen side here. I think the correct plan seemed to be to exchange queens, create a very stable position, whereas here you're going to have a game where there's attacks on opposite wings, and it'll give black some counter chances that I don't think it should have. I think this position should be a very simple technical win for white, and he doesn't really want to let black make the position messy.
Well, there you are, which Jim is striving to do.
The G-pawn goes.
Mind you, that's not to say that white isn't still better. Of course he is.
Yes. I think with this balance of material, queen and two rooks, you often get very complicated games.
Depends a lot on activity, major piece endings. Whichever side has the greater activity generally stands better.
Yes.
Material is not necessarily a factor of great importance as of yet, because white's a pawn up, of course, but it's not necessarily that important. It depends very much on who's got the more active forces. There you are, that was an interesting offer of an exchange of queens, which perhaps white should have taken. He should have taken the exchange.
He very quickly jumped away from that possibility.
Well, he obviously thinks that his play down the g file is very strong.
Well, Plaskett's slightly behind on clock here. White can double rooks in the g file. Difficult to see where black's going to get his play, unless he goes something like a5 and then b4, but that's a bit slow.
I think black's made a minor comeback here. I think the position before, where he was just 2 pawns down for nothing, was much worse than this.
Oh, absolutely. Quite right.
Are we seeing Norwood reverting to his preferred style of being able to attack?
Well, I think that is happening, yes, but I think that's the wrong way to play this particular position.
So
I mean, he's got an advantage on the clock as well, so I think he should just try to exchange off into an ending.
Now, what would you say? Is this a minute? A large advantage in Blitz?
I think, yes, black's only got maybe a minute left for the whole game, and if it went to some sort of rook and pawn ending, the game could possibly last another 30 moves or so.
Don't like that move at all. Loosens the position. Although what Norwood's trying to do is to create a passed pawn. That's generally one thing to do in endings of this nature. You know, one side creates a passed pawn and pushes it to tie the other side down. So in this case, white's got some sort of attack on the g file. If he can then push his d pawn, tie one of the rooks down, the black rooks, then the attack on the g file assumes greater significance.
So would you say this was an endgame or middle game position? Kings are still being attacked?
I'd say definitely it's a middle game position, because there's a possibility of mating attack.
Whose turn to be making this anyway, okay.
No, I'm sure if white exchanges queens here. Big surprise.
Plaskett now dying to get the queens off.
Well, you see, this is, yes, white should have done it. I think you're right, Gavin. He should have exchanged the queens to avoid this possibility of attack. Now David's putting his rooks offside here. What's happening here?
Does rook h6 win here? No.
King to grovel away to g8.
Well, of course, this is a very good position for white. He's got 2 connected passed pawns.
Oh God, that's a terrible move. Oh dear me. Norwood not playing at all like his normal self.
Plaskett had his hand as if to say, remember touch move.
As well he might.
Well, this is a disaster for white.
What has white done here? He ruined his position at a stroke. He hasn't even got any checks. Well, he can check on e8, and then the king goes to h7, check on e4. Well, you know, maybe white should take a draw even now. g6. Oh my God.
White, no more checks.
This is a catastrophe for white, because black's now attacking on the c file. White could well be mated out of nowhere.
Well, I think rook e5 looks like the move. I can't see a mate for black.
Well, it's over now, which is ridiculous. Absolutely ludicrous. It's going to be mated, not no.
It's very close on time. Black's got almost no time left. I mean,
unfortunately, mate ends the game. Yes, and white's flag's down, and he's been mated, and now Jim's gone down.
What exactly went on there? Both flags are down. Is this a decisive result?
Shall I rook e8? I have some play.
White's flag went down, then black mated white, and then black's flag went down.
That was the order, but in the final analysis, is that a win therefore for black?
Yes, it's 2 wins in fact. First it's a win on time, and then it's mate on the board.
That was a cruel blow for Norwood, who now trails 3-1. One more victory for Jim Plaskett, and the match will be his. Let's see if he plays as aggressively with white in Game 5 as he did in Game 3. Right, so off we go for the third Blitz game. Plaskett white again.
Yes, I hope Norwood doesn't repeat the opening of the first Blitz game. He got into a bit of trouble there, leaving his king in the centre. But it seems as though he is.
Well, it's his usual opening. He's played this system many times before as black. And he probably hopes that his greater understanding of this system might benefit him in a Blitz game.
I'm just a bit worried he may run into practical difficulties later on because black has to leave his king in the centre for some time. If he castles now, then white gets an automatic attack with bishop h6 and pushing the kingside pawns. So that's the deviation from the last game. That's his improvement.
I still think white's got a very easy position to play though. He's
That's
just
right,
developed all his pieces very naturally.
Especially against an attacking player like Plaskett is rather risky, isn't it? It's like putting your head into the lion's mouth to play like this.
Yes.
I'm sure black should almost certainly consider taking on f3 with the bishop here and just sort of saddle white with an inferior pawn structure at some point. Makes it very difficult for white to engineer a successful pawn lever on the king side.
Yes. Yes, I think the bishop on g4 is not doing much unless it does take the knight on f3.
So we get the same pawn advance in the centre. Norwood takes again, opening up the d file. Very risky procedure this.
Yes.
Having lost both Blitz games so far, he probably wants to win this one, I would say, at all costs, but very risky.
Yes, again, I don't like black's position here.
No, knight has to go to the side.
Now, can white play bishop takes e7? And if king takes, then knight d5 check, wins the black queen.
That's an interesting tactical point.
Yes, it strikes me that Norwood's leaving his king in the centre game after game.
Yes.
Plaskett, that's a very, very dangerous thing to do.
His idea is to...
So e6, opening up lines. Plaskett's not too concerned about material. And knight d5, so now we see Gavin's idea of the exposed black queen. But possibly black should take on d2 now, exchanging queens. And let white play knight in check, followed by knight takes bishop check. Because at least then black gets some pieces off the board.
I think white would be clearly better in the resulting ending, but...
Well, but black is a pawn up. Not much of a pawn, but it's a pawn.
Yes.
But Norwood's, again, you see the practical problem getting behind on time here. Defending is always more difficult than attacking. Much more easy to have the initiative in Blitz than it is to defend against an initiative. And can't help feeling Jim must be quite happy at this stage.
Yeah, especially after that retreat right back to
abject retreat, isn't it?
And a whole minute consumed.
Well, white can take on e7 with either piece here, takes the knight, pending nasty discoveries. Now is Norwood going to shift his queen or play some sort of move like h6?
I think h6 must be the critical move.
Well, it's the same for grandmasters as it is for ordinary players. If you stick your knights on the edge of the board, they don't end up out of play. And Norwood's got this nice on h5, and I think he's going to suffer as a result of that piece, really. It just shows you grandmasters can't break the rules. They have to play according to the basic principles like all the rest of us.
It's good to hear.
Well, in a way, it's refreshing. It's good to see white playing in this aggressive manner. Black's almost playing with two rooks out of play here. Both his rooks are not doing very much, haven't been centralised. Plaskett just taking black pawns here.
So I think with both centre files opened up, it's very important to have your king out of the centre. And
it means as well that white can think about investing material in order to keep the black king in the centre.
Well, at the moment he's actually a pawn up, isn't he?
Yes, the two pieces are on prise, aren't they? The knight on c6 and bishop on g5. So Jim's got to consider which one of those he wants to give up. The defect of black's position is really that his rooks haven't moved. The rooks are completely out of the game, whereas Jim's rook on d1 is in the centre of the board, ready to attack. And Plaskett can also consider moving the h1 rook to e1.
But also he had to consider that he was simply losing a piece. Investing a piece in this attack surely needed more careful consideration.
Well, possibly he was playing on intuition.
Open lines, king in the centre.
So Norwood's won this piece. What do you think, Gavin? Do you think white is better here still? I think he must be.
I can't see anything clear for white actually in this position. I mean, black got several moves now. He could play bishop h6 or maybe castle kingside. I'm beginning to think that black's maybe escaped in this position.
Well, Norwood took on d5. Could he have castled there, perhaps?
Yes.
Would that not have been a more careful thing to do? Because now Plaskett's queen has come into the centre. OK, Norwood castles, check, king in the corner. I think it's about here where Jim has to think about how he's going to justify this sacrifice.
Both players are getting very short of time now.
No, that surely is just a queen sacrifice. Queen on prise.
Yes, as far as I can see, a very surprising move. It seems to lead to a draw if Norwood takes the queen. He hasn't done so.
Oh.
He's playing for the win.
But he's playing for the win, yes.
Nice moment, turning down Plaskett's queen.
Well, a very impractical decision, I think.
Impractical.
So short of time, yeah. If black had taken the queen, the white knights would have delivered perpetual check. He's taken the queen.
It now.
Of course, the knight moving away from h5 has vacated that square for the king. But whether black wants to put the king on h5, he has done. Perhaps he should have put it back on h7.
In which case it would have been a draw.
This looks horrendously risky. Horrendous.
This is an incredible position. It's extremely unusual.
Yes, this is very unusual because black's four other pieces apart from the king are just sitting on the sidelines watching.
Yes.
Not
One
doing
of them
anything.
being his queen.
Good lord, that's incredible. Well, I don't think black's king can survive. I don't see a mate yet, but...
It's all checks.
Yep. Yes, and Plaskett's able to make a quiet move, you see. Black's king's in the box. None of black's pieces can participate. Norwood very short of time now.
I've never
Plaskett
seen
has
Norwood do this so much. This is hurting.
Yes, it's really hurting. Lost both blitz games so far. I think he's bound to lose this one. He surely can't defend that king, and the king's done in now. Check.
Yes,
King
yes.
up to h3 and it's mate. What an entertaining
What
game.
an entertaining
Yes.
game.
In the first game, David Norwood gave up his queen to mate Plaskett. Here, Jim Plaskett gets revenge with an astonishing queen sacrifice of his own to expose and then mate Norwood's king. Throughout the match, both grandmasters have played some superb attacking chess, but with startling play in the Blitz finale, it's Jim Plaskett who wins the match 4-1.